Hey everybody, it's Ben in Beta, and today I have a video for you on the Thor's Lightning Total Control Manifold. Now I purchased this a few months ago and I actually did a video on it, and unfortunately it didn't turn out correctly, and so I had to reshoot it and I had to move in that time. So I have since moved. We're now in a new place. You've probably seen some of my videos in the past. I have one on the 4-tire inflation deflation kit along with the Total Control air compressor, and we'll be using the air compressor and the 4-tire inflation kit just without the Thor's hammer piece. The manifold will take place of that. So we're gonna talk a little bit about what that is and why you might want one, and also what system this might work the best with, even though it'll work with pretty much any kind of air compressor. And also we'll talk about why you might wanna just go with the 4-tire inflation kit and just keep that instead. There's lots of different options from Thor's Lightning, and it's pretty easy to find the one that works best for you. They have many different compressors, and they also again have these 4-tire inflation kits, and then this new manifold. So before we hook up the system, let's take a look at what you get. You do get this manual, so you know what to do and how it works. And then you get this really nice case. It's all styrofoam. Inside the case, you're also gonna get a USB charger, and you'll get the Total Control manifold. So you can notice that this is fairly large, and I'll show you in comparison really quickly what that looks like to the Thor's hammer that comes with the 4-tire inflation deflation kit. It's quite a bit bigger, and there's a reason for that. So there's a battery in here, there's a bunch of electronics in this, and what this does is it can both deflate your tires to a specific PSI, and then with any air compressor, even one that doesn't normally shut off automatically at a specific PSI, it'll actually shut off at the right PSI and get your tires inflated to the PSI you want without you having to stand around and constantly turn it on and off. So there's some advantages to this. Obviously, you can just kind of set it, go do some other stuff, come back, and everything should be done. There's a couple other cool features about this beyond the system itself, and that is it's got a little hanger on it. The USB charger is right here up front, and what this is really for is it allows you to kind of hang this in some different spots. We'll probably hang it up here today so you can see it really easily. There we go, like that. So that hanger allows you basically to hang this and again walk away as you hook everything up. So the next thing I'm gonna do is just hook up all the hoses really quickly. Again, you've seen videos of this before, and if you haven't seen those other videos, do check those videos out. Thor's Lightning's got a lot of great stuff, and I will have links to all of these things, so if you're interested in any one of them, or if you're interested in picking up a different version of like the air compressor with this system and a 4-tire inflation kit or whatever, I'll have links for those, and also a coupon code for you to use. Also remember that these videos do take a lot of time and effort to make, so please hit that like button if you found this at all helpful. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet, and don't forget to share this out with anybody who might be interested in some overlanding or 4x4 goodies that they might want to use on the trail. But let's get this set up and see how it works. Connect to each side here. This is pretty simple. Connected, and then connect your tires. This can also be used on single tires at a time. You don't have to use the 4-tire kit, or just 2 tires. Doesn't really matter. So however you want to use it, it can be used in that way, which is kind of cool too. I'm showing this to you in my garage as a controlled situation. You'll probably also see this in some upcoming videos, but it works the same on the trail as it does in my garage. All right, it's all attached, and it is important to read the directions on these things so you know how they work. So the first part of this is for inflation. We're gonna deflate first and just see how long it takes to say go down to like 20 PSI from where I'm at right now. So if I turn this on, we're currently at 32 PSI. So I don't know how well you can see that, but let me bring this up here a little bit closer while we're doing the next bit here. All right, so we're at 32 PSI. And again, talking about the directions, there's inflation and deflation. So there's inflation in the top, deflation in the bottom. Connect the controller to the tires, press the power button, set it to desired PSI, turn on the manual valve, and the controller will automatically start deflation. It's gonna pause a few times to calibrate the pressure. And when it's reached, it will close the internal valve and it'll beep and let you know it's done. You wanna close the manual valve at that point and disconnect the hoses. The electric valve will remain closed for 120 seconds. So you need to disconnect within that time. So turn it back on here. We're at 32, so our target's gonna be 20 PSI. All right, and all we're gonna do then is open the valve down here. And we're at 20 PSI. We're gonna close that manual valve. No, it still says 27, so let's keep going here. There we go, it's checking on its way down. I have had it happen a couple times where it kind of, the first time doesn't work for whatever reason. Not sure why. All right, we'll close it up here. So we're at 20. And we'll turn it off here so it stops beeping at me. But you can see it got down to 20. So for whatever reason, sometimes it doesn't work the first try or whatever, and you have to like press the button again. I don't know why that is, but once that's done, it seems to work every time after that. So kind of interesting. But now we need to bring my tires back up to where I want them. So they were at 32. I actually would like to see them be at about 33 or 34. Cold, so that's what we're gonna do now, and the truck's been sitting for a few days. All we need to do there is pull out the air compressor. What I would say is this is a total control air compressor already. So when I have this hooked up to the 4-tire system with the Thor's hammer, it actually does a pretty good job of already getting to the exact PSI that I need. This is kind of nice for airing down and not having to constantly check, but now I have something here that's got its own system for going all the way up to a specific PSI, and then the same thing here. So we really want this to kind of control that when it gets there. So what I'll probably need to do is set this at a little higher PSI to make it work. The first thing I need to do here is get this connected here. Okay, we're on there, and we'll open it up and make sure that's not leaking, which it's not. All right, and then I need to connect this up to my battery. All right, we're connected up. And this is reading about 21.2 right now. It often seems to read a little bit different than both the Thor's hammer and what my truck says. So anyway, let's turn this back on. And this is saying 20.9, saying 21.2. So we're pretty close. Now, the reason that might have changed a little bit is the tire pressures with this hooked up, those are gonna sync up with each other because the 4-tire inflation kit allows them all to get the same pressure, which is really nice. So we're at 21.2 here, and we wanna set our target up here, I think, to like 34. So I need to move this up here a little bit. So it was just a little bit higher, so we'll go just a little higher than 34. So I think what we're seeing happening here is sometimes this is checking pressure, and when it checks it, it then will continue going on. When this checks the pressure, because you can hear the psst here, it's not restarting the compressor. And so that's where I think when I'm saying who is this for, probably for people who don't have the total control system, because the compressor would just keep running whenever it's asked to run, right? It's just gonna keep trying to give you pressure. I think the total control manifold might be better paired with their dual system, which doesn't have the control in it to stop at a specific PSI. But let's keep going. We're at 29.2. This is doing 25.5. I guess we'll see which one's which. So again, we're at like 29 here, 29 here. So we need to keep going. All right, so this one's telling me 34.5 PSI, and this one's saying 31.3. And I'm just curious if we close that out, if it's still the same there. 31.5 is what it's saying right now. All right, let's keep going then. So this is saying 37.2. And this is saying 32.6.7. So we'll get this one to 33 and then we'll see where we're at. All right, 33 is about where they were before. Now it's saying 34 actually. There we go, interestingly enough. And it shut off, so we're gonna go ahead and close that valve. And now it's actually saying 38.5, interestingly enough, which actually matches closer to what that was. So let's turn it off and turn it back on and see what it's at. So it's saying 38.4, which is what it was saying before. So I actually need to let a little pressure out of here. And so we'll disconnect this really quick. So this is closed, so this thing should be able to disconnect now. All right. So it looked like this was a little bit more accurate. Not sure why this was so far off, but let's let a little air out of here and see where we're at. So I'm gonna check with the other Thor's lighting and just see what that's telling me. So I closed the valve. So it's getting air up here. Let me just close this. So this is saying 40.4 and this is saying 38.3, so it's kind of interesting. All right, let's close it back up. And turn that off. Oop. All right, so we're gonna let out a little bit of air now. We don't wanna be at 20 anymore. We wanna be at about 34. So this is gonna go pretty quick, most likely. Here we go. So I'll close it up, and then I'm gonna really quick just check and see if it's still 34 when we turn it back on. So I was saying about 34.6, a little bit higher than we wanted. So we could let just a little, whoop, 7, it's balancing out a little bit, so let's let just a little bit out. All right. And again, let's check it one more time. Turn it off, turn it back on. 33.7, so right around that 34 mark. That's pretty good, we'll leave it there. All right, I did go out and drive the truck and the tire pressure is 34 in the tires. So it does seem to be correct and accurate with the truck. And it seems that the Thor's hammer is a little bit off, and it was off before. It seemed to always be about 2 pounds over what the truck said, so that does seem to make sense. And yeah, so it does look like the manifold was accurate. All right, so how would I sum up the total control manifold? It was accurate to my truck, and the Thor's hammer has actually been less accurate in the past. It was about 2 pounds over before, so I guess that makes sense that they didn't read the same. So this was accurate, which is good. Now, it wasn't quite accurate on the way up for whatever reason. Now, again, it didn't seem to be as accurate on the way up this time, and that might have to do again with the total control compressor, with the total control manifold, two things trying to decide what the right PSI was. I'm not sure. I will look into that though and just ask if that's sort of standard behavior with this system, having both things be the total control from Thor's Lighting, and see what they say. So how would I sum this up? If you're looking for something you can set and forget and walk away, I think this is pretty good. Now, the Thor's hammer is much smaller, so this is pretty big. You probably want to keep it in here. You also have to keep it charged. The other one's just running a battery, but both of them do need power in order to tell you what the PSI is. Seems to be pretty accurate too, so that's good, especially to my specific tires, which I'm liking. So it definitely gives you some cool advantages, especially if you don't have an air compressor that automatically stops at a specific PSI, and the fact that you can air down to a specific PSI is really helpful as well. But I always let value up to you, the consumer, so you should decide what you think is best for you. Let me know in the comments what you think of this system and what system you're using as well. I'd really be interested in that. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, live your life in beta.